Hi, and welcome to Three Questions With. Got my buddy Jack Wang with us from Smart College Buyer. Hey, Jack, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on, Kevin.
So, Jack, we were joking a little bit before the show because one of the questions you receive a lot is, hey, Jack, what does college really cost? Not exactly the easiest question to answer, right?
Yeah, you're right. It's not the easiest question to answer. And like a lot of things, right, when we get asked these, the answer is always, it depends. But of course, right, but what does it depend on? Well, so the analogy that I like to use is this, right? So forget about college for a moment. Let's just set that aside. And let's think about buying airline tickets, okay? So if you or anyone you know who does any kind of traveling, there's all these websites out there that offer tips on like how to get the lowest airfare, right? Do this, fly this day, whatever the case may be. So if you think about if you fly to a really popular destination where like everybody goes for vacation, and you fly on the busiest day at the busiest time, and oh, by the way, you want to fly first class, you're going to pay, right? As much as you might want to not pay or get a discount, you're going to pay, period. Versus if you fly to maybe a destination that's not very popular, or you fly like the red eye on the slowest day, or whatever the case may be like that, and you fly coach, then you're going to pay a lot less. Now, how's that translate to college? Well, in the college world, right, the colleges that everybody knows, right, the Ivies and near Ivies and things like that, the names that everybody knows, that's like flying to the most popular destination at the busiest time on the busiest day of flying first class. You're going to pay close to sticker price because there's so much demand.
Yep.
Versus other schools where there's a lot less demand, you can get a lot less. So on average, nationally, on average, at a private school, families pay roughly about 50% of whatever the sticker price is. That's a national average, but of course, it can really vary. So the answer to how much does college really cost, it really kind of goes back to that family. Are you going to insist on that they go fly, at the most popular day, at the most popular time, right, to the most popular place and first class, or are you okay, going somewhere else? That is going to be that's going to be the major determinant whether you're going to pay up here or down here.
So, Jack, the other thing that I see with a lot of my friends is they forget about what we call the other costs. They send a child off to college, they give them an allowance, hey, here's X dollars to spend, and they're getting those calls home going, geez, I need more money because I wanted to have fun. All my dorm mates were going out Saturday night to have pizza, whatever they were doing, and I spent more money than I anticipated. And I see that a lot. They forget just the other costs. I need a new blanket, for school. So that's something else they have to consider. If their child's not living at home, there may be other costs that they don't anticipate.
Right. There's so many other costs. So like you said, right, going out with friends. So one of the running jokes is very few people eat in the dining hall on a Friday night or Saturday night, right? Because it's right. You have to remember these are teenagers, right? They'd rather be out with their friends. And whether they're getting pizza or beverages, that costs money. Even Coors Light or Natural Light or whatever it was I used to drink still costs money. But so there are those kind of costs, right? There's costs. There's also other costs. For example, like if at a particular college there's a really active Greek system, then your son or daughter may want to be part of that. That costs extra money. Or there's clubs and activities. There may be fees associated with that, with the specific club or activity, and all the things that they do. All the way down to things like some places you have to still pay for laundry. In other places, it's included in the dorm fee. Some schools I know, even in this day and age, with everything being digital, some schools still have professors who like their papers printed on paper. And I know one school in particular, you get like part of your fees, you get like 100 pages a semester printout. But then once you go beyond that, it's like 10 pages, 10 cents a page or something. And you might use up that 100 pieces of paper pretty quickly, depending on who you have. So there's all these other little costs that all seem kind of insignificant, but can really, really add up, right? On top of whatever else you might be paying for tuition and room and board. So pizza costs money, beverages
Unfortunately.
cost money.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, I know that firsthand.
Yeah.
I still remember that.
So, Jack, I want to go back to the beginning. One of the things we've spoken about in the past, I think is very important, is managing expectations because we've all done it. Jack, just go do the best you can, get into the best school you can, and mommy and daddy will figure out a way to pay for it. But then that happens, and like, oh my God, Jack just got into an Ivy League school, and that's way more than we can afford. So isn't it important to kind of manage those expectations early versus, hey, don't worry about it. And then senior year, Jack, you got a couple of minutes, mom and dad need to talk to you.
Right.
That's the game seems like it's kind of tough. How do you handle that though?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Managing expectations is so critical. And because it leads to a lot of crying later if you don't, right? And what I mean by that is either A, the student's crying because they got into wherever, but mom and dad couldn't afford it. So the student can't go. Or B, student got into wherever, mom and dad can't afford it, but now they're going to taking on that debt. So mom and dad are crying, right? But the student's happy, right? But either case situation, somebody's crying. So it's important to have that expectation up front as to what's realistic. But also tell you, I get a lot of students who like, hey, but the students are saying, hey, I'm willing to pay half, I'm willing to do this. So it's important also to manage the students' own expectations about what is possible and what's not possible, because I've seen plenty of cases where the students are more than willing to pick up a bigger share of the tab of the college costs because they don't want to burden the parents, but they can't. There's just no mechanism for them to do that, right? So just kind of having everybody understand and sort of get on the same page is really, really helpful because, like I said, otherwise, somebody's upset and somebody's crying later, and that's just never pretty.
So true. Jack, what's the best way for people to reach out to you? How can they learn more?
People can always go to my website at www.smartcollegebuyer.com, or they can reach me via email at jack@smartcollegebuyer.com.
Jack, appreciate you taking a few minutes to call on the show. And as always, thanks for being my friend.
Thanks, Kevin.